Serve?
Korea.
What was your branch of service?
Army.
And your highest rank?
Platoon sergeant or staff sergeant. 3 up and 1 down.
Okay. What were some of the general locations that you served?
Well, we arrived in Korea in Incheon and went right through Seoul on all dirt roads. Seoul with some. Then went 55 miles north, and we went past the 39th parallel, 38th parallel. And we were worried. We were in a train, and I never get over it. Here we are, all these green uniforms with rifles sitting in front of you. And, hey, Sarge, the guy said from Boston, hey, Sarge, we just passed the 38th parallel. And that's, in the papers in the United States were saying that's the demarcation zone where all the fighting was going on. He said, don't worry about it. So we continued on, and probably 20 miles. And I was stationed at headquarters battery with the Field Artillery Observation Battalion. And it was in North Korea. My whole 13 months there was in North Korea. Terrible place. No trees, just a waste type of dirt land. And very cold in the winter and very hot sometimes in the summer. And then when the rainy season comes in August, it rains for 2 weeks as hard as it can, like when you have your windshield wipers on fast for 2 weeks. So that's the North Korea. That's where I was.
Okay. Now, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was in college, and they were going to be drafted. I talked to them, and they said I could stay home for the Christmas, December of 51. And then I enlisted in January 22nd, 1952. So I opted to do that. And so I enlisted for 2 years, or I would have been drafted for 2 years.
Okay. What was going through your mind at the time when you enlisted?
Well, at that time when you're young, it was exciting. And I know a lot of this is 1952, which is only like 7 years from the World War II. And I knew a lot of the fellows that were in the World War II. And the excitement, but they were also stationing people in Germany. So I was kind of hoping I was going to go to Europe. I was always interested in traveling. So I loved the idea of traveling. And after boot camp, basic at Fort Sill, I was assigned to Korea with about half of my unit, and the other half went to Germany.
Okay. What made you choose the Army?
Well, that's what they were drafting, and I like the Army. I like land rather than sea, and we did go by boat over. The water, the typhoon, they hit some kind of a cyclone or typhoon. Even the Navy guys were sick. So I'm glad I picked the Army.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your boot camp training?
Boot camp was right at Fort Sill, and enjoyed it. It was, back then I was in real good shape. And I was a sergeant that was drilling us, and he was cross-eyed. So should I tell these stories like this?
Yes.
So I'm looking at him, and he says, "Eyes front, soldier." So he's cross-eyed. I said, "Eyes front, soldier." So I didn't think he was looking at me. Halt. Fall out. So I still don't know he's looking at me. Fall out. Touch me on the shoulder. You, soldier. Give me 50 jump ups. And that was when you put your hands over your head and you go up So I was in shape. I knocked him off, and that didn't go very well with him. So after we get back to the barracks, he goes, "Why were you keep?" I said, "He's cross-eyed." I said, "Didn't you guys?" So the next time we go out, I'm the only guy. My eyes were straight, and everyone else was looking at him. He says, the drill sergeant went bananas. But that's when we had fun. Another thing I can mention is after 5 weeks, we were able to go to Oklahoma City and for the weekend. But you're allowed 150 miles in Oklahoma City fit, but Dallas was over 200 miles. Like I said, I like the idea of traveling. Wanted to go to Dallas. So we went to Dallas, 3 of us, hitchhiked. Hot day. Took our ties off. Got out of the couple's car, picked up right away by MPs. Ties off. I said, look, guys, I said, we just got off. It's hot. We're going to put it. No, we brought us up. Oh, my God. Of course, we get back, called into the CO's office, and our punishment was digging a hole 6 by 6 by 6. And we did that. That's what we, but it was worth it. I loved the idea of going to Dallas.
Yeah.
So, any other, want me any stories, anything you want?
Anything?
I got another story. I tell my kids this. During the Washington's birthday, February 22nd, I'm there. And we finished drilling, and they were making cherry pies in honor of George Washington. So they put these pies out on the windowsill. The smell is knocking me out. Unbelievable, delicious. So I said, I'm going to take one of them pies. Oh, geez, I wouldn't do that. Who the heck? There must be 50 pies. I was going to notice. So I take a pie, and we go in the barracks, and then anyone want a piece? Oh, no, well, I'll take a piece. Okay, I'll take it. So we divvy it up. Eat the pie. Go back out. Fall in. All right, you guys, the first thing I'm going to do is count the pies. Oh, my God. Everyone looking like that at me. I says, oh, jeez. 1, 2, 3. He gets up to 26. I'm thinking, what am I saying? 32, 33. I said, hey, Sarge, don't bother me when I'm counting these pies. Where was I? 34, Sarge. 35, 36. True story. They went nuts. My guys in the barracks went nuts. But I don't know. You wonder if these guys were just fooling around with us. But we had some good times, good fun. My pie story. I had some notes here I was going to tell you.
Can you tell me some about your training?
Training was terrific. The obstacle courses, firing rifles. Like I said, you're 20. I just turned 21 the first week I was in service and loved it. I just enjoyed it because you're young and you're ready to do things. I'm not kicking about that. Great. You look back, it's the best years of your life. No regrets, even going overseas.
So after Fort Sill, where did you head?
Well, we had a month off leave, and then I had to report to Seattle, Washington, which is another great thing to be. I flew to Seattle, and we took a ship out of Seattle and went to Tokyo, and landed in Tokyo. And from there, we took another ship to Korea, and that's where we were assigned. We went out to Korea. And then I did come back to Japan on my way back, but they gave every 6 months, you get 5 days R&R, rest and recuperation. And we had that, but I can tell you a story about my R&R one time. I'm my second time on R&R, and I wanted to go back to Tokyo. and loved the idea of traveling. And one of his name was Chong, that was in they call it the Rock Army, the Republic of Korea. And he was a soldier there, and he says, Sarge, you know, I hear you're going with broken English, R&R. I said, oh yeah. He said, would you buy some cloth for us? He said, I get money, I give you money, you buy cloth. I said, cloth, you mean like material? He said, yeah, we have no cloth here. The people need cloth. My mother's grandfather, mother. I said, yeah, I can do that for you. So a couple of days later, I'm ready to go. He comes over. He gives me $1,000. I said, Chong, what? He says, you buy material. He says, yeah, but that's a lot of money then. I mean, houses were, going for $8,000 brand new here in the States. $1,000. Well, what did I get into? So we get on a plane. We arrive in Tokyo. And I said to take a shower for the wonderful feeling, first time for a long time. Get new clothes. And I said to the guy, look, let's find this material first. He said, yeah. So I walk into a souvenir shop. Young gal, Japanese gal. I said, do you know where we can buy some cloth material? She closed the store. She says, I know a great place right down the street. She closed the store and took the three of us to a wholesale material cloth place. Took our shoes off. We sat down, had tea. She excused herself, went back and opened up her store. We sat down there with the owner, and we bought the cloth wholesale. I went back to the souvenir shop and I started buying. She says, you don't have to buy this junk. She spoke very good English. I said, oh no, I'll send it home to my mother. But we took the cloth, put it in a locker. It was bolts, they call it bolts. We had so many bolts of this cloth, we put it in a locker. I went back, gave it to Chong. They went nuts. I got twice as much as they expected because it was wholesale. And it was a wonderful thing to do. I was so happy, even though it was a pain and I was worried about it with all that money. I'm glad I did it because that was a big thing for them to have material. That's my cloth story.
Yeah. What were some of your first impressions upon arriving in Japan?
So there's so many people, and they didn't have a lot of equipment. And they had people doing things. Everybody was busy. There's no land that isn't concrete. Everything was just full with and people, a lot of people. And on that same vein, when I got out of the service, and anything made in Japan, toys and etc., broke in 2 days. They switched that around with the Toyota, which we know is one of the most popular cars. And that they changed from making things cheap and breaking easily to making things very good and lasting. And the Toyota car can attest to that.
Right.
So that's Japan. And at that time, we weren't too friendly with the thought of a Japanese person. But we found they are terrific people. Going over there, they're kind. And everywhere you went, the restaurants and everything, they were just super people. Very pleasant and kind, honorable. But, we were brought up during the Second World War as the Japs, dirty, rotten Japs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then after Japan, you arrive in Korea. And what were some of your first thoughts getting there?
Well, we were assigned to headquarters battery, and it was a field artillery observation battalion, which they told us we were going to go up in front. And on that, we were honored on that thing where you watch for the artillery going into the enemy area, and you sight, they call it through binoculars, and you're telling them up to and over 3, which means you're firing here. They're kind of designating where to put it. But we didn't lose many people because we were in between there, you know. The infantry that went on patrols were the guys that lost a lot of men. We lost like 50,000, 53,000, something like that in the war, which has only lasted for 3 years.
What were some of your assignments in Korea?
Well, that, and then my dad owned a service station in Weathersfield here, which I eventually bought from him, and that was my job. But I did work in the motor pool, and then as I went in, I became a PFC, and then a corporal, and then the sergeant. So it was. I was ready to come home, though. Let's put it that way. After 13 months,
Right.
and then the war ended, and we were ready to come home, and the war ended, and we were detained, and I was worried that we were going to have an all-out war, and I was going to stay another year or so. But no, all of a sudden we got word we're ready to rotate, which they call rotate. And my position was already placed, so we were just waiting around. Let me see what else I was going to mention about that.
What was a typical day like for you in Korea?
You know, another thing I was going to mention, food-wise, was pretty good. The Thanksgiving, they came up with the turkeys. We all had turkey, and the food was good. Peanut butter, when the peanut butter came in like a big gallon jug, and the rock soldiers, the Koreans, I never get over it. Oh my God, they went for that peanut butter. Oh, they ate that, and they had diarrhea like you wouldn't believe. But it was so sweet and delicious to them. But oh, did they ever suffer? But once of course, they're all used to eating rice, and it's completely different. But once their metabolism got used to it, they ate peanut butter all day long.
So on a day-to-day basis, what would you do for field artillery?
Well, there was a lot of that observation, but then after, when I came back into the motor pool, you know, we took care of the vehicles and made sure, and a lot of the times the problem was parts. Like, say a Jeep needed a master cylinder, you didn't have a master cylinder, so they deadlined it. And you had to wait a few weeks to get a master cylinder. So that was frustrating. And we didn't get to take a shower. And one time, at a shower, guys took someone stole it's a 3/4 ton. It's like a big truck, not the 2.5 ton, but like a pickup, and stole it. So we're going back another few weeks later to take a shower, and we recognized that truck. And the guys are in there taking a shower, and we picked up the hood, and you can tell some of the things from our outfit. We stole it back. I don't know. They must have come out of the shower. Where's my truck, So that's one of the things I remember. Let me see if I have anything else. Let's see. I told you that.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
What was that, Buck? Some of the things that through. Another impressive thing is when they honor someone that died, and you have a parade, and you're in that parade, and you might be 200 in your platoon, and you're marching. But to honor someone that has died, and you're in that parade, you just feel so good about it that you're part of it, and you you pass the general and the eyes right and you salute. So it really teaches you a tremendous amount of responsibility. You know, I would recommend anyone, a young guy not knowing what to do, right, Buck? Go in the Army, I'll tell you.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
Letters, free mail. I have a bunch of them there. My mother saved all my letters, and she wrote me a lot. And my friends, you know, we did correspond a lot. Letters, which you look forward to, which was wonderful. Letters was the biggest thing that you look forward to. Want to know how things were. My friends back here, and some of them were in the Army in different places, but a lot of them were drafted. They had some kind of asthma, and they were 4F, so I kept in touch with them. But my mother, mainly. All the family things, everything's going on, always kept up.
Did they come pretty frequently?
Yeah, sometime they were delayed. I was reading some of the letters just recently when you guys told me you were coming over, and I have mentioned, gee, I didn't get a letter for 3 weeks, but now I got 3 or something at once. You see, that happens.
Okay. Were you ever lacking in a certain supply for a while?
No, we did have, when the first winter, I arrived in July, and we had the regular combat boots, and it was getting very cold, and I did get a touch of frostbite. And then they came out with insulated boots, which they called Mickey Mouse boots. Now we see them, everyone wearing them, they're insulated. Tremendous difference. And when they came, that made a great, great difference in frozen feet, because we did have a lot of people have frozen feet and frostbite. But those Mickey Mouse boots saved us.
Did you go to any USO shows?
Yes. We saw them all. Bob Hope, Marilyn Monroe, they loved them. Just loved the shows. It was tremendous. Bob Hope is something. I mean, oh my heck, we were just roaring. And he loved to go because the audience was the best. Just enjoyed it so much.
So on leave, where did you said you went to Japan. Was there anywhere else that you went on leave?
Yes. Can you stop the camera a moment?
Okay, so we're back. Did you keep a journal while you were?
No, I didn't keep a journal. I do remember stories like, to go back to when we first went in, we came to Fort Devens, and then we were assigned to Fort Sill. So we're on a train, and my friend Dick Lawton and I went together. So we're on a train, and the guy says, anyone want to play poker? We're on a train from going to Chicago, and then Chicago to Oklahoma. So I said, I'll play. So my friend Dick says, you don't know these guys. Well, I'll just go in. We just got paid. They gave us money right off the bat, you know. So we sat down, and the sergeant in charge of us was with us. They dealt the hand. Everyone stayed. Everyone, not one person, there was 8 of us, dropped out, and they were raising. Okay, I'll see that. I'll raise you $2 and $3, and I'll raise you that. I couldn't believe it. So my friend Dick's going like this. I says, I give him a wink. Everyone's raising. I have 3 kings and 2 8s. There's not much in poker that's going to beat that. Nothing wild. Finally, we keep going. We didn't have any limit about raises. Finally, all our money are in. We're tapped. It's in the pot. We throw our hands. There were flushes. I'd never seen anything like that. There were straights. There were flushes. There were full houses, but not as high as kings over eights. There was like jacks over tens. I won. Pull it in. Whose deal? I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Had all this money. And the sergeant says, hey kid, is there a silver dollar in there? So I'm going like this with all the dollars and $5. Yeah. He says, that's my lucky silver dollar. I was in Korea. I flipped it to him. But I never got over it. Dick Lawton died recently, but we were at a soccer game with some of our friends. He brought it up. He says, Earl, I'll never get over it. I said, I never did it. It was an unbelievable hand. So those are some of the stories you remember. So I didn't have a journal, but I do have a good memory.
Right. Okay. Do you remember what it was like towards the end when you were getting ready to discharge? What you were thinking then?
I was hoping when I got home, they gave us another 30-day leave. And I was hoping I was going to be discharged because now it's in October. And I'm on my cousins. My mother told me my cousin Marge is getting married and they want you in the wedding party. And I said, okay, sure. Sure enough, I was home in time of it. And my wife, Mary Ann, was her maid of honor. That's her picture up there in the top. And I didn't know Mary Ann at the time, and we met and we started going out. And I was hoping I was going to be discharged because I only had to January, but no, they stationed me in Fort Hamilton, New York, which is great duty. But what they were hoping I would re-up because they offered me another stripe, be 3 up and 2 down to stay. And I had an easy job. I was inspecting vehicles in New York, Staten Island, and Queens and Brooklyn and all. And but I wanted out, and I did get out. But that was another fun time, staying in New York and going all over. And then I continued going out with Mary Ann, and we got married a couple of years later. So.
Can you tell us more about your time at Fort Hamilton?
Yeah, they had me. I was a truck inspector because I had that experience from the motor pool and then my dad's service station. And that were the times when Staten Island was 5 cents for going across on the ferry. And so we did that. And then we went to Queens and the 5 boroughs, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Staten Island, and I enjoyed the time there. I was able to come home weekends. Here's another story. I was coming home weekends, and I would just put on a windbreaker, and because I had a 50 Chevy, nice little Bel Air Chevy, and the CEO called me in and says, Earl, I know you're going to be getting out probably in January, but would you wear your uniform on your way home for the weekends? I said, sure, okay. So that weekend I'm coming home, I kept my uniform on. Coming down the Merrick Parkway to come home, another guy and I were kind of racing a little bit. And we got to the toll station, which is the toll then, 10 cents. I paid, he paid on the other side, and a cruiser came running around right in front, blocked us off. You stay there, he said to me, and this other guy, he wrote him up. Goes over to me, puts this pad on the hood, he's looking at my license plate. And I said, how about a warning? He picked up the pad and threw it down on the hood. He says, that's the first time he said anything. He says, you guys were coming down here, and I was coming over the Housatonic River there, where it's now a big bridge, but at that time it wasn't. And you want me to give you a warning? I gave the other jerk a ticket. I said, okay. He said, you're going to be in court January 21st. I said, I can't make it. Oh, I suppose you're going overseas. I have my uniform on, see? No, I said, that's my discharge date. And I don't want to miss it. Oh, Jesus. Okay. In the meantime, his left front tire is going, shh. He's getting a flat. And he's looking at it. Now, that in those days, there was tubes in the tires. So what he did, he picked up a nail, and the nail went into the tube, and the tube is going. Dangerous when you're driving fast and you got a leak like that. So he's looking at it, and I'm looking at it. I'm a nut too, even following you guys, and now look at that tire. I said, you want me to help you change? He said, no, I'm going to call it in. He says, we start talking. I told him I was in Korea, and he let me go. He asked me how things were doing. So he calmed down, and what I'm getting at, it's a good thing I wore my uniform. I'd have never talked out of that one. But he saw the uniform, and I had the Korea ribbons on, so he let me go, thank God. Yeah.
What was your homecoming like?
Oh, I arrived here at the railroad station, took a cab home. I wanted to surprise my mom. And it was a Friday night, and the taxi cab driver was all excited when I took a cab, and he was all excited for me. And because we lived doors wide open, the back then everything is right here, right in Wethersfield. And my mother's home getting ready for my dad to be coming home for work around 4:30. And Mama, I come running in, and she come in, and I'll tell you, it was a wonderful. And between the combat boots and I'm young, I'm like 6'1", and she must have been, I think she was like 5 feet, but she seemed so tiny when we were hugging. And macaroni and cheese that night and fish. So she was routine, and sure enough, because they didn't know exactly what day I was coming home. They knew my dad came home. It was wonderful. And then my friends, we had a TV, which was kind of rare back then. And some people had it, but a lot of them didn't. And a lot of friends would come over and we'd watch the Wednesday night fights and the Friday night fights. And so right away we start bringing all our friends over, and it's a great home. My sister I only have one sibling, and my sister, and just a wonderful to come home.
In the weeks after, when you came home, what did you do?
Well, I had the 30 days, and we got together with a lot of relatives and different parties, and then during that time, I was at that wedding, and met Mary Ann, so I was starting to see her, but I had some other girlfriends that I saw too coming home, and we dated. And we did a lot of double dating, went to the movies. They had drive-in theaters there. We did a lot of going to the drive-in movies. Getting together with my old friends, playing basketball still. The gym was open in the high school. So we got together doing that. And then every weekend I was coming home from Fort Hamilton. So that was just super terrific.
Did you make use of the GI Bill? Did you go to school on that?
I did. The GI Bill, I did, going through high school and college, I was not that interested in the service station. But in the Army, when I became the motor pool sergeant, and I was interested, but I was running it. And so I worked for my dad, and then after 20 years, I bought we added on. We had 2 bays right here in town. Added a 3rd bay, and then we added 2 more bays. I still own the service station. It's an emission station now, and I'm renting it and to a fellow that's for an option to buy. But that's what happened. The Army made me realize, and no regrets. I play golf. I belong to the country club here for 43 years, and we have 5 kids. So, and I know everyone in town. I mean, there's get-togethers, and I must know half the people in town just from being in business all these years. Yeah.
Do you get together with any of your former servicemen?
We still do. We've lost a lot of them. There's soccer. Our team was in 1948. I was a senior in high school, and they had the first soccer championship for Connecticut. And at that time, what they did was, it wasn't any A or B or C schools. Everyone just was in the tournament. And we won the tournament. So many of the guys are still with us, but they're going, and when there's a home game here, we meet and we watch a game and we visit and talk. There's a picture of the championship team, and that's the banquet up on top there. See it? Yep. But that was a big thing. We won the championship, and that was a big thing for the whole state of Connecticut. So I do get together with my old friends. Yeah.
How about your old friends from the Army?
No. I don't know, and I think of them often.
Okay.
That I would, but what the difference now is the telephone is, it's a big thing, the long distance. And we didn't even exchange phone numbers. But to call anyone long distance back in the 50s was expensive. But I did learn a lot from my friends in the Army because they came from all over, from the South, the Midwest, Michigan, Iowa, and I remember Tennessee guys, South Carolina guys, and Pennsylvania, a lot of coal mining guys. So I wish we did. We never wrote anything, I never saw anyone. Never talked to anyone, and that's a regret, because we're very close. The Army, you get very close. You're living with these guys, and you're right there with them. But no.
Did you join any VFWs or American Legion?
I did join the American Legion, yes, and the friends over here. So we did keep in touch. And you asked about the GI. I did take a GI Bill for School of Mechanics, and that helped me out. And to learn more, the $10,000 GI insurance I kept that up, and I got a check every year from them. It's wonderful. I got a check for years. Every January 22nd, my date of enlistment. But I did keep it up. I always paid that. It's the best. They said the best life insurance that you could have through the Army GI.
How has your military experience influenced your thinking?
Tremendously. Influenced me just to realize how lucky we are to live in America. And the service, meeting everybody, and it's because when you're that young, we went as a few times we went to a Yankee Stadium, we went to the Boston Fenway Park to see some games, but that's about it as far as traveling. But the Army, meeting people from all over, and the experience, it's the best experience you can ask for. It's really tremendous.
Is there anything else that you would like to add that we might not?
Let me see if I have my notes here. No, that's I enjoyed it, especially Tokyo and Japan. But not only Tokyo, I traveled. There was 2 times at R&R, and then landing in Tokyo and going back. So I was in Japan 4 times. In Seoul, I was in Seoul, and geez, I see they just had a golf tournament in Incheon, and we were in Incheon, and it was all dirt roads and everything, and it's beautiful now. Seoul, look at it. Seoul is a tremendous city, and it showed, because it's only 30 miles. Incheon's only 30 miles from Seoul, and it showed the skyline of Seoul. It's beautiful compared to when I was there. So that's everything I think we covered.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for your service and for your time
You're
for this
welcome.
interview today.
You're welcome. Enjoyed it.